But in terms of your residents, and you said about the guy who found that throwing was much easier when it was related to something that he kind of resonated with. Are there any other kind of favorite stories you have of working with people that are kind of similar to that, or like times you feel like you've really kind of made an impact? And then equally on the flip side, things that you found it really tough maybe as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my stories actually comes from one of my coaches, and it's funny that that's one of my favorite stories, but she went into a care home and there was a lady who didn't come down for anything, no activities at all. And she was a hairdresser in a past life, you know, and when she was younger, she was always, and I can imagine, you know, if hairdressing is any similar to barber shop, you're chatting constantly, right? You're conversing, you're talking, you're building relationships up. It's such a social and public role. And then she's gone into the care sector, and she's gone into a setting where, like, it's totally different, and she's just closed herself off. She's obviously lost her confidence, and, you know, she's gone from such a publicly chatty role to not seeing anyone at all because she won't leave her room. And we managed to convince her to get down because she'd been set some exercises by a physio. So we said, look, you can either do your exercises on your own and struggle and, you know, not really do it and not get any better. I think she might have had a stroke or something like that. Or you can come down and you can do it with one of our coaches, and sort of this is my, you know, myself and the care team working together at the home. And so you come down and it's sort of a bit of music on, you can learn a little bit, the coach can help you and make it a little bit more fun and accessible. So we managed to get her down, which was really exciting. She ended up loving it. She ended up absolutely loving it. And we checked back in with the home in regards to her activities away from just our exercise sessions a few weeks later. And it turns out she'd attended every other activity planned, like everything, painting, bingo, the whole lot. So going from not attending anything to trying one of her exercise classes to being a regular in everything else as well was really quite a wholesome moment for us. And then on the other hand of things, I think when I first started working with residents who have dementia, it was definitely a hard hitter for me. Like, my granddad's got dementia, but not as severe as some of the residents I've worked with. And you go from running these really easy, funny, wholesome group activities where you sort of sat at the front and it's quite simple and everybody copies, to all of a sudden being put in a situation where somebody has dementia and they don't particularly understand what you're doing, where they are, but you know that it's important for them to stay active and keep moving. So the first time I experienced that, adapting that was a bit of a shock for me. It was like, okay, how do I make sure this person can still join in and still access some sort of physical activity, you know, while catering to their needs? And it was a bit of an oats better than note policy, and it's a policy we actually follow these days as a company. Oat is better than note is like it's like a bit of a northern slang, meaning, you know, obviously, I mean, you can probably guess what it means, but anything's better than nothing. So we work with residents who have, you know, quite severe dementia and struggle with mobility, and we work with them on a one-to-one basis, and we break it up, and we try to get anything emotionally stimulating out of them first, then we move on to cognitive function, then we sort of move on to gripping and movements and mobility and get them into that flow. So we go into that oats better than no, and by the end of that we managed to achieve some really nice sort of movements with these residents and got them smiling and laughing, because I think what's most important is the emotional cortex is one of the last things that stays. I think it's called cortex. There's something in the brain where your emotions are one of the last things that sticks around with dementia. So they can still feel emotion, they still feel happy, sad, etc. So to stimulate that is really important, and to do that through movement and exercise was even better for us. So yeah, dealing with dementia for the first time was a massive shock, but after understanding it and coming to terms with how we can get around it, it was also such a massive learning curve, but such an incredible opportunity to develop myself as a trainer, a coach, a PT, whatever you want to call me.